closer to the mic, and we're good. And we are actually on now, Raul, and the man sitting across from me is needs no introduction to the world order. You've heard ring announcers say that, but the greatest blow-by-blow man in the history of boxing, Jim Lampley, now the co-host of the exclusive live viewer chat throughout Saturday's Canelo broadcast live on ppv.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you very much.
It's an honor to have you here.
It's an honor to be called the greatest blow-by-blow man in the history of boxing.
Sure.
And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, given that I first began watching boxing on Friday Night Fights in 1955, and the great Don Dunphy was the blow-by-blow man to whom I was listening at that time. So anything you say complimentary to me about my work as a blow-by-blow man is a reflection of a further ongoing compliment to Don Dunphy, who was my model, and though I never met him, never saw him, etc., my mentor, in the sense that I grew up listening to him call fights.
Since we're going to start, we'll get to the fight in a second with Canelo Munguia. You have a favorite moment of your HBO days, your favorite fight, favorite? If you got to pick two or three, I'm okay. We can do that.
There's no any such thing as a favorite moment. There are far too many. There are favorite trilogies, like I was just talking to somebody about Barrera Morales earlier today. There are favorite fights, like I was just talking to somebody about Gatti Ward 1 earlier today. And maybe my favorite moment that I've recently been thinking about with regard to all of that was after the first Gatti Ward fight, when the arena at Mohegan Sun had kind of cleared out, and all of the enormous, breathtaking excitement of the whole thing had finally begun to wear down just a little bit. And I picked up my notebook and my papers and gathered up. Harold had left, Larry had left, and I walked out of the arena and stepped into the lobby of the arena, and I ran into Arturo Gatti's manager, who was Pat Lynch. And Pat was crying. He was distraught. And I said, Pat, why are you so upset? He said, I can't believe we lost. And I said, this is boxing. I said, Pat, if we took every person in that arena and found them a year from now and asked them who won the fight, how many people do you think are going to remember? How many people are going to in any way focus on a judge's decision after an experience like that? Pat, you won. You know,
that was one of the most amazing things. I don't even know how you could have called the 10th round after that 9th round, after all that happened there. I mean, it was such a
it was one of those uniquely emotional things that just carried us along. And I did feel at sometimes inadequate calling the fight during the fight, because I thought to myself, words don't do justice to this. Just let it play. But if we just let it play, then we don't get Emmanuel saying, oh, my God. And, you know, the things that went on during the fight. It was an astonishing experience among many that I'll never forget.
One of those unforgettable moments, and before we went on the air here, I told you I do some blow-by-blow as well, and boxing being the theater of the unexpected, everything you say is so organic. You have no idea what the heck's happening. It happened. It happened.
Yes.
Now, what was that? Just organically came out?
Well, that's a story, and there are a few of them like this, but there's one about Tyson Douglas.
Yeah. Mike Tyson just been knocked out.
Yeah, Mike Tyson has been knocked out, and that was a different story. But the one related to it happened is critically important to understand, because George, you'll recall, was my expert commentator at the time, and we had called the fight in which Moorer had beaten Holyfield to become the heavyweight champion, and now here's George going about the enterprise of trying to become the oldest heavyweight champion of all time by beating this 26-year-old unbeaten heavyweight champion with craft and determination, etc. And there were it was a busy fight schedule during that year, and George was not taking time off from calling fights. He was training and then coming and doing the fights and going back and training some more, etc. And several times, maybe 4 or 5 times, I would pull him away from a fighter meeting or a pre-fight meal, or one of the things that we did together as a group, and I would confront him. I said, George, how are you going to beat Moorer? How can you possibly expect to beat Moorer? You saw what happened in the Holyfield fight. Holyfield couldn't find him. He's a southpaw. He's a mover. Your feet aren't as good as Holyfield's. What is the plan by which you beat Michael Moorer? And every time I asked him that question, George would kind of size me up, get in front of me and look at me and say, you listen, there will come a time late in the fight when he will come and stand in front of me and let me knock him out. Always the same words. He will come and stand in front of me and let me knock him out. Now, to anybody who's listening and is not familiar with the picture, you know the picture, you can see it. But go to YouTube and watch that and think about what he said and the precision with which he said. It was a vision. He knew it was going to happen. He had some kind of a plan to make it happen. He made Moorer come and stand in front of him and let me knock him out. And so I'm sitting there now. Joe Cortez is counting, and that count is at 6 or 7. And this is just like Tokyo in the sense that I'm saying to myself, oh, my God, this is an immortal moment. This is an unforgettable moment. This is critical to the history of the sport, and I have to say something. And all I can think about is those conversations. So it's literally me talking to George. It happened. It happened because that was what he told me would happen, and it did. And I am in the process. You jumped the gun here a little bit, but I'm in the process of writing my autobiography right now with a publisher in New York, and the title of that autobiography is It Happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm a big sports nut. I remember you back being one of the first sideline reporters and on ABC and hosting the studio.
Yep.
And, to tell me that UCLA lost to USC. And those are, great things. So first of all, was kind of segue. Now you've been back for a handful of fights, kind of doing this stuff with PPV.com. How do you enjoy that?
Well, when HBO left boxing behind under new ownership in December of 2018, I sized up my situation, thought, well, okay, there's a chance that I'm not going to be calling anymore blow by blow. So now I'm free to do something else. And I had long had it in my head that I would like to go back to my alma mater, the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and teach. So I made an arrangement, and I wound up going back to Chapel Hill, and I taught a course in the communications department. And part of the course was about the continuing evolution of communication systems, electronics, personnel, et cetera, and how that leads to new ways of telling stories. So ironically, now here I am working for PPV.com, which is a live chat enterprise. We do live chat during the fights. Viewers can join in and chat with us, myself, Chris Algieri, others, and it's an entirely new way of talking about a fight, telling the story of a fight, just as I described in my course. New technology needs to new systems, new ideas, and I'm part of a new way of telling the story about the fight. It's fun. It's great fun, and at our age, you can appreciate the freedom of not having to do it on camera, not having to do any of the pro forma television stuff that goes with it. Just sit down, type some words into a computer, share with the other people that you're working with, and relate to the audience in terms of what you're seeing from the fight. Great fun and a way to keep going, and I love it.
And to also, and I said no as a blow-by-blow go, you can't really tell all your knowledge and maybe a prediction and what you think is going to happen. That's why you have your color analyst. You're able to do that. I mean, you had so much experience, so your word is as good as anyone's in terms of breaking down a fight. We'll get into the Canelo fight in a minute.
In the last few years of calling fights on HBO, with Roy Jones sitting next to me as the expert commentator and Max Kellerman on the other side performing in the role that Larry had performed in for so long. Philadelphia Daily News, Larry Merchant. I often thought during those last few years, what makes sense here, what would really work here, I think, is if at some point I get up and walk around Roy's back and go sit in that chair that Max is in now, and Max comes around here and he takes my chair and becomes the blow-by-blow guy. I really envisioned that. Wow. And I saw myself doing what Larry did, which is to just put in a few lines here and there with a kind of editorial overview, be the older, wiser voice in the group. And I thought I had earned the chance to do that, and that Max would be a great blow-by-blow guy. It didn't happen because along came the cell phone salesman from Dallas who bought the company and decided for whatever reason that HBO should not do boxing anymore. But I had really thought that was going to happen. This is a chance to do exactly that kind of commentary, exactly that kind of editorial thinking about the fights, and deliver it in chat on a computer. Great fun.
We always hear about maybe great musical artists come back from one more concert or whatever. I know you'd probably like to do more full time, but
well, I spent years telling myself, don't go too far.
Yeah.
Don't stick with it too long. Don't get into a position where you can embarrass yourself. But I don't think I can embarrass myself doing live chat with partners on a computer. So, I don't know how I would do it blow by blow now. Everybody, all the kind people here in the media room, when are we going to hear you doing blow by blow again? I don't know. And I, I don't have any reason to expect at this point that I will do that again. But what I will do is ppv.com for as long as they'll let me, because I love it.
All right, so let's break down this fight really quick. We were here for Saturday night. You caught a lot of the fights of Canelo coming up, caught a bunch of fights of Munguia coming up. Both fighters have evolved into kind of maybe different things at this point in 2024. How do you see it?
I'm not sure back in the day that I envisioned that they would meet. I probably should have thought of that. I did do Canelo fights on HBO, and all the way from 135 pounds getting knocked into the ropes by Jose Cotto in his first appearance on HBO to all the things that he later achieved and accomplished. I watched him become #1 pound for pound in front of my eyes. And Munguia was in the developmental stage, becoming a young rising star. During the period when I was doing my finishing up commentary blow by blow on HBO. I called 3 or 4 of his fights. I decided to do a feature piece on him on my magazine show, The Fight Game. I took him across the border from Tijuana to my home in Del Mar, California, took him to the racetrack in Del Mar, took him into the jockey room. He was stunned and excited that all the jockeys knew who he was, recognized him when he walked in and everything. We gave the trophy to the winning owner in the feature race that day. He saw a world of glamour and luxury that he had never seen. And so I feel a bond with both of them. And I am excited to see them going into the ring together. And there's a natural instinct on the part of a lot of people to think that Munguia is not ready, but I don't know that. I want to see the fight and find out. I think that I have far better reason to think that Munguia is ready because Freddie Roach is interested in him. Freddie Roach is Freddie Roach. He is who he is. If he has an interest in Jaime and sees his potential the way I used to see his potential, then maybe he's got a shot. And we're going to find out.
Well, my 2 cents, which is about what it's worth, is 2 cents. We haven't seen Canelo maybe since the second Golovkin fight have to fight 3 minutes of every round. Even lost to Bivol, it was a boxing match. Munguia, if anything else, is going to probably try to make Canelo fight 3 minutes of each round.
I agree. And he probably can't win a boxing match. He's got to win a fight. And I'm sure that Freddie has, explained that to him and convinced him of that. So, yes, I think that, every great fighter reaches that moment when suddenly there's somebody across the ring who's younger, who's less heralded, who's hungry, who knows enough about him to be able to challenge him where he lives. And we may have that. Munguia's grown up watching Canelo. So he is bound to have a certain reverence. Revens can be good in a situation like this. He might not get hit with a shot that he doesn't see coming. So, we'll find out how much Canelo has left. We'll find out how much Freddie has left. We'll find out a lot about people on both sides of the ring Saturday night.
Now, let me ask you, are you not a blow-by-blow guy? I think you're allowed to make a prediction now, aren't you?
Oh, I'm allowed to make a prediction, yes. And the logical prediction is Canelo by TKO because Munguia comes forward and tries to pressure him. Or Canelo by unanimous decision because Munguia stays back, is conservative, and just gets outboxed by the superior boxer. So either one of those is the logical prediction for the fight. Am I going to be brave enough to predict that Munguia is going to win it? I'm not there yet, but it would be an exciting moment for the sport if he did.
Pass you the torch. This is an absolute honor for me, Jim. Like I said, I hope we can do this many more times, as many more big fights, and have my vote. At least one more call for Jim Lampley. At least. I mean, like I said, I watched a lot of pro wrestling. When The Rock was coming back, they're probably on one more match.
Yeah, we're on radio.
Yeah.
So I want to make this point. You talk about me coming back as a guest. I am so inspired by your Blue Horizon T-shirt.
I was the last PR guy there.
I will come back anytime. All right?
You're the man. One last thing. You said North Carolina, Drake May. Is he going to be a star?
I believe so. Look, I'd have taken him number one. I know his father. I know his brothers. I've watched his entire genesis. I met him first when he was a 9th grader. So, yeah, I have a lot of reason to believe that Drake May, if nothing else, he's humble. He knows who he is, but he's groomed for this. He's been brought along for this all the way. And that is a rocket arm. Those two guys who got picked ahead of him, they must be awfully goddamn good. That's all I can say.
Any of the Mays passed through the Jim Lampley communications class?
No.
Okay.
Nobody took the course. Nobody took Com 490. But my course was an upper level course. A lot of my students were graduate students. There was no way Drake May had to risk a possible B- in my course.
Jim, an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. That was